Hi, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of notable people in North Texas on this very cold Texas morning. I think it's about 25 degrees
Something like that.
this morning. And my guest today is Andrew Morris, a candidate for the Democrat nomination for Texas State Rep in the 64th District in the March 2018 primary. Thank you for being here, Andrew.
Sure, thank you for the invitation.
If you would please give our viewers some background information such as education, occupation, etc.
Sure, yeah. So I am a proposal writer for Tyler Technologies. I've earned degrees from UNT, at the University of North Texas, in history and professional and technical communication, 2 master's degrees. I've also earned a bachelor's from UNT and another bachelor's from Monash University in Australia. As you can tell by my accent, I'm not from around here. I was born in the UK.
You're not a native-born Texan?
Unfortunately not, but I got here as quickly as I could, so yeah. My wife is Texan. I moved to be with her 10 years ago, and we have 4 cats. We live over in Argyle, and it was just a pen pal friendship that we struck up online, and something just clicked between us. So that's where I am. I am a sci-fi nerd. I'm looking forward to Star Wars coming out next week. So yeah, I have my tickets all ready to go.
You do. Okay. And how long have you been involved in politics?
I've really always been at least around politics. I've always been sharing my political opinion with my friends and on Facebook, as it seems like everyone's wanting to do right now. But it really took this past year for me to get fully involved. Back in 2014, I registered voters through through Battleground Texas, and that was in support of the Wendy Davis gubernatorial campaign. Earlier this year, I was campaign manager for Lindsey Fagan, one of the congressional candidates, and then I also was a field volunteer for Paul Meltzer's Denton City Council race as well.
Have you run for office before?
No, this is my first time, so it's a little bit like guzzling water from a fire hose right now, trying to work through everything, but I'm getting there. As my wife said, if you're giving your political opinion for free, you may as well try and get paid for it. So.
Yeah, well, that's that's true. Which cities and towns make up the 64th District?
Sure. So 64 starts up in the Crum area and all of the ranch land northwest of Crum. The entirety of the city of Denton is included in the district, and then you follow 35E south, and it goes through Hickory Creek, Corinth, Lake Dallas, and goes out towards Aubrey as well. Those are usually the principal cities that are included in this district.
And what would you say the population is approximately?
Sure.
You know? Well,
yeah, I actually looked at this yesterday, curiously enough. So the population is around 180,000 or so for this district, and the voting age population is just shy of 170,000.
oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For those who may not know, what are the duties of a state representative?
Sure. So a state representative goes to Austin, and they're part of a 150-member body, and they write legislation, they go and hold town halls, they meet constituents, they help residents and constituents if they have any issues. They also work with the congressional leaders like Dr. Burgess in the 26th to promote people for the academies. If someone wanted to pursue the academy, like West Point or the Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy. But their primary function is to write the budget and to make sure that Texas doesn't go broke.
Yeah, that's a good duty. And the term is a 2-year, it's 2 years for a term.
That's right, yeah, 2-year terms.
Tell me, what are the most significant issues facing Texans right now?
Sure. So my campaign is built around 2 main priorities that I think are being underplayed right now, and that's education and healthcare. As far as education goes, even though there are materials that suggest that there's more money being invested in students, if you look at the per capita per student, it's actually declining, and more students are not getting the resources that they need. Teachers aren't getting the resources that they need in order to educate the next generation, our next generation of doctors, lawyers, attorneys, plasterers, masoners. And without a solid education, you're not able to be a fully prosperous and invested person in our local communities. And something that I think the current legislature has been doing and has been doing for the past several cycles is kicking the can down the road when it comes to school finance reform. They keep toying around the edges, but nothing is actually effectively being done, and as a result we're seeing per student investment declining, and that's, I think, something that needs to be arrested, especially in higher education that I've been involved with, when everyone is trying to encourage students, quite rightly in my opinion, to pursue a higher education. When they are having to take out $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in student loans at a minimum just to get a degree, there's an issue with that. And part of the reason for that is the state investment in higher education has been declining for the past, really ever since I've known UNT, which goes back to 2006. And when the state's not investing in higher education institutions, that burden has to be met somewhere, and it's being pushed onto students.
What about the size of the state budget? And what is
Sure.
that about?
Yeah, that's actually something that I should know, and I don't, unfortunately. I know that it is I know that it's important, and I know that Texas has a balanced budget amendment, and it is a case of trying to make sure that we are as effective as possible and efficient as possible with the revenues that we're bringing in. I am highly conscious that property taxes are a huge issue when it going around the district, especially for those in upper age brackets, because they are the ones who get the property tax bill. I myself just found mine last week, and I do think that what we need to do as Texans is look at different and more broader revenue streams for Texas. So we have the two primary income streams for Texas are property taxes and sales taxes. Texas is one of a handful of states that doesn't have an income tax. I don't think that that's a route that should be explored. But I do think that there are other avenues that we could look into based on experiences in other states, both Republican and Democrat, that could help encourage Texas to lessen the burden on property owners, but can also help us meet the obligations that we have.
Was there a tax increase, you know, in the recent budget?
For the recent budget, that's again something that,
Okay.
that I don't know.
Well, okay, I think if I remember correctly, there was no tax increase. Pretty much there was it was about the same as before, but the property taxes are always a major issue, and there are some people thinking about doing away with it. I think Empower Texans is one of them that wants
Right.
to do away with, something more like a consumption tax. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's get into an issue like the bathroom bill. What is
Sure.
your opinion on
Yeah.
that?
The bathroom bill is discriminatory. It's something that hurts more than helps. It's an issue that has been created out of nowhere until this past legislative session. There really wasn't any call for it. One of my close friends is Amber Briggle, and she has a son, Max, and it was through my relationship with them and going and talking with her and finding out how her son Max was struggling at school because he wasn't able to use the bathroom that he was identifying with. And when there are already laws on the books that would prevent the sort of supposed predatory behavior that's going on, this seemed as though it was a punitive measure that doesn't help anyone, and according to law enforcement would make their lives a whole lot tougher. Rather than being able to investigate actual crimes on people and property, they would be having to do gender checks going into bathrooms, and that's not an adequate use of their time.
All right, so you don't think there's any need for that bill?
Right. And it's also from a business side of view as well. Pretty much every major business leader came out and said that we don't need this, we don't want this. We have the experience in North Carolina that had a business boycott. They lost the NCAA Final Four. They lost so many business opportunities. And when Texas is growing, and especially Denton and Collin counties are welcoming companies from all over the country and all over the world, something like this will actually harm Texans. And when we come back to needing a consumption tax potentially to reduce property tax burdens, when businesses stop coming into Texas, that means jobs don't come into Texas. It means that more residents don't come in, which means that no one is buying the goods and services that we need to help fund the government.
So then it's more of a business decision than a moral decision?
I think both need to be equally weighted. Certainly there are potential moral concerns, but there's nothing that the proposed bill would do that would help solve any of the, it's a hammer in search of a nail, is the best analogy I can have.
All right, what's your opinion on sanctuary cities and the border wall with Mexico?
Sure. As an immigrant myself, I'm very cognizant of the immigration process and how difficult it is to go from into the country to outside to citizen. Denton is not a sanctuary city. There are no sanctuary cities in Denton. The border wall might be useful, but it's often said that if you build a 10-foot wall, then you're going to have a boom in 11-foot ladders. I think there are more effective methods of securing the border through investing in Border Patrol agents, which the Trump administration is currently doing, and also surveillance and encouraging better pathways for immigrants to come in that aren't
All right,
expensive.
Andrew, I'm getting the nod that it's time to conclude, so it goes so fast, really.
Exactly.
But thank you for being here and
Sure, thank you.
for doing this interview, and I wish you good luck in the election.
Sure, thanks so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.